Okay, we'll think of a topic.
Did you enjoy your cottage cheese there?
I'm a big fan of cottage cheese.
How do you feel about cottage cheese, Hud?
That's not a euphemism. I ate some cottage cheese, okay?
Cottage cheese?
No, he said something else. I have had it. I don't mind it.
You don't mind it, but you would never go for it?
It's the kind of thing, like, you know how there's those foods that you kind of force yourself to eat every once in a while just because you know it's good for you? And you don't hate it, but you don't love it. It's on that list for me.
All right.
Great source.
Fair enough.
Great source of protein.
It's one of those things I love, but I could under why you wouldn't love it. It's weird, but I love it.
It is weird, but like grow up if you don't like it.
Yeah, grow up, Hud.
I just think they need to find better ways
Stupid.
to put it on our food. I think they need to find better ways to put it into our food. Because, like, Brussels sprouts, people used to hate Brussels sprouts. Now people love
Brussels sprouts are really
Yeah.
good.
You ever have?
Because we found the right way to do it.
You do air fryer Brussels sprouts?
I just, when the outside's a little crunchy, that's
Exactly.
what gets me.
Phenomenal.
Speaking of the outside being a little crunchy.
Clickers.
Bloaters. That bloater was very crunchy on the outside.
Oh, sexy.
And a nice, gooey, sexy man on the inside. We found.
Well,
Yeah.
Have you heard about all that?
Big man.
Have you seen this? You heard
Big
about this?
man.
no, I haven't seen this. I haven't heard about this.
It's a real
bunch
suit.
of, they
millions of dollars.
showed who the man who played him outside of the
bloater.
suit. They showed who played the bloater, and it's this big, strong man, very handsome. The suit weighed like 80 pounds, and so a bunch of fans are super into him and making him like a big sex thing.
He's one of those Gregor Clegane the Mountain types.
Oh, okay.
That kind of type of guy.
Yeah.
Not one of those.
But
actually,
more like shredded.
Oh,
Very
okay.
shredded.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The suit was real, not CG. It was all real. Welcome to the Boys Take Holly-wEiRd. We are going to be talking about The Last of Us, episodes 4 and 5. Please hold to my hand. And what was the other one? What was the title?
Endure and survive.
Thank you. I should have known that. That is
Makes a lot of sense.
big quote from the game.
Sense.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Nick.
Hudson.
Yeah, so this episode is going to be about both of them. So it's going to be spoilers for 5 when we're talking about 4. Because that came out in the same week because of the Super Bowl, and they do feel like they are the same entity.
They're very much connected. You could have had that be one long hour and a half, 40-minute episode, and it would have worked.
Yeah, it's the introduction and the farewell of Henry and Sam. Is these episodes.
Incredibly emotional. God, they've
Yeah.
just been doing such a damn good job. This is a show that I am just so fucking on board with the whole way through.
Yeah. I agree. I've really enjoyed it so far, and I knew that once we got to the Henry and Sam point, because that for me is like, the game's really good for the first half. You hit the Henry and Sam, and then that's when it becomes like one of the best games of all time. Once you hit that point, because then just there through the end, it's just emotional beat one after the other, all the way through the end. Like,
totally. Not
not that the first half's bad by any means. It's a good game, a really good game. And then once you get through Billstown and you meet Henry and Sam, that ending, and then from there it's just incredible. So I was like, if the show can like maintain that or like hit that, and then like when we watched it together, Nick, like I was like we knew that was coming.
Episode 5.
Episode 5, sorry. We knew Henry and Sam's demise was coming, and when we saw that, like I literally like felt bad after, like in a good way, like it emotionally impacted me. I was like, I don't feel very good.
Well, yeah, it was heavy. It was just
heavy.
really heavy.
You would think the episode would just end with the murder-suicide of those two, but then there's still more, and you see a little scene with Joel and Ellie, and that's, God, there's that song playing, and you're just thinking about what just happened.
The I'm sorry on the Etch-a-Sketch, too.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was like, the way she he's like, stay up with me after she gives him the blood as the medicine. She's like, stay up with me, and then it cuts and she wakes up the next morning, like she clearly fell asleep too.
Yeah.
Like that's also just sad.
Well, we should go back. Let's go back a little bit then to episode 4.
Yeah, let's backtrack
from
here
from the beginning. So, because episode 4, they're driving, and it is just like the game, where it ends up being this fake cry for help, and then they crash. And I thought, I mean, the action was really cool, but that initial scene where he tells her to go hide in the wall because he doesn't want her to be in danger, and I think also to see what is about to go down. Because that's when we start to see, this is the first time we see Joel actually killing people. We know it's something that he's good at. We haven't really seen it, and the show wanted to avoid him doing it as much as the game because they wanted it to be more powerful. And it was. And then when she comes out and she saves him, I think the response from his character was much more realistic than it was in the game, which was great.
Yeah, I do agree.
But she also takes that in a moment. She has this moment with the guy that she just shot, and that was hard to watch. Because you as an audience member are wanting to feel for him, but you're also at the same time like, nah. Just finish it. This needs to be done because this dude's a liar.
Brian. God, that's so intense when he's saying, my legs don't work.
My legs, Mom, he's like, calling fucking Muda. Oh my God. And then they did a really good job of personifying this group that they've run into in terms of like, it's not a group of bandits, it's a group who overthrew this tyrannical government and are now trying to just do their own thing, led by this pretty intense woman.
Kathleen.
And they really did bring this group to life so that you actually sort of were invested in what their story was too, whether you liked them or not. It didn't matter. You were invested in their story. And to see these two things combining.
We'll talk about them a lot. I just want to go back to the last thing you were talking about, where Ellie has to be the one to kill. Brian.
Well, she doesn't kill him. She puts him down, and then Joel finishes.
But just an add-on to that. The first scene of that episode is her holding the gun and like practicing shooting.
She's all happy with herself too.
Yeah,
that's right. I forgot about that.
I think that's just so interesting. That she doesn't know the consequences of what she's doing right now.
You were making the reference that reminded you of Walter White in Breaking Bad with the gun, and I don't remember, I wish I could give credit, I was listening to some podcast or review, and someone on that said the exact same thing. They said she's Walter Whiting it at the beginning. I'm like, that's so true, just the draw. But it is cool, her, like, she has, like, kind of like a bloodlust, or, like, she wants to be, like, violent, but then you get to see her, like, do it, and you see how it affects her. Which is cool, like, the consequences of it. I love the joke, all the joke book stuff was really awesome.
Well timed. Never felt like it was shoehorned or bad timing. It was always really good.
Joel's responses were much more interesting than in the game. How they gave him the moment of giving her the answer to the scarecrow joke.
As it goes on, he gets more involved.
And then that is such a relatable thing when he's laughing at the diarrhea running in the jeans joke, but he's like trying out, like when someone says something so stupid to you and you don't want to give them credit, but you do think it's funny, but it is so stupid, and then he just goes, "That is so goddamn stupid."
And he's laughing because it's stupid.
But that's such a good humanizing moment for Joel. Like, we haven't seen him smile at all. And that was just a great, I don't know, I loved the joke book, how they handled all that.
Well, you can see hints of him warming up in episode 4. So that's when they're making the coffee and she says, that smells like burnt shit. And then they're driving in the car and she's like judging him for it, and then he obnoxiously slurps the coffee.
That's such a dad thing. Like,
I think part of his character too that we're seeing is that he knows that he is prone to becoming attached to her, and he's trying not to. He's really trying not to. He just wants to separate. He doesn't want to. He doesn't like having people in his life that he can lose, especially when it's a daughter figure. I think that's incredibly hard for him. So for him to come in and do this is... It's something that, like, we're seeing it happen against his will, but also not against his will at the same time.
That's another thing we never got with Joel in the game, is him acknowledging so much, like, you're just a kid, you shouldn't have to do or see these things. So I do appreciate how they did that. Like, it showed that it affected him. Because I do think that makes a lot of sense, especially him having had a daughter before. That he would not want to expose a kid to the thing. Or, like, have a kid shoot someone like that.
Even though she says later in the episode that she did have to kill someone before.
Oh, yeah. It's very suspicious what she's talking about.
But is she referencing her friend?
I'm not sure.
That got bit?
That's this wouldn't even really be spoilers. In the game, we know that all that happens. But in the game, I don't even
kill her.
I don't not you don't see that. I'm trying to think if there's even a line of dialogue with it. I don't believe so. I don't believe she ever says like I had to put her down. I'm guessing though. My prediction is that they're going to adapt it a little bit for the show and that
they
to make
are,
it more,
but it's also
to make it more dramatic
because it has to be different than what she's just done. It can't be her killing someone to save her life. Because she just did that, it looks like, for the first time.
Yeah.
So her first kill has to be some other story.
Yeah.
Because it didn't... It wouldn't have affected her this way after she just shot that dude and ruined his legs.
I'm guessing we're going to get that in episode 8 when we see the Left Behind stuff with Riley. I'm guessing it's gonna either be her or someone that they stumble across, something like that. I don't know. But that is interesting. That it's happened before. I want to know more about Ellie's backstory because I do feel like they're going to do it a little bit differently than in the game. So
I talked to my brother and his fiance about this, and they did not like the ending of episode 4, where it's just Henry and Sam holding them hostage. They thought that the episode felt short, and they thought that
I do agree about that.
Because, well, comparatively to the others that came out before it, they were a little bit longer, so it makes sense. It did feel
it was like
short.
43 minutes.
But I also, I don't know. I'm like, what else could you have thrown in on the end of that episode that would have then ended it in a good spot?
Yeah.
Nothing. Because the next bit of that story to tell was something you wanted to see all in one chunk. The introduction of those characters was a great place to end because if you took it any farther, you would have had to just finish it.
Yeah.
There was no other point in between where they could have ended it, and it would have made sense.
Yeah, episode 4 is all about the introduction of Kathleen, and we see Kathleen interrogating the doctor about Henry. So we're hearing about Henry this whole episode.
Right.
And then the episode ends with us finally seeing Henry.
Made all the sense in the world to me. I just didn't. I don't know. I don't know why they didn't like it so much. I think they just didn't like it because it felt short.
That's why I kind of didn't. I didn't. Not that I didn't like it, but when it ended, I was absolutely shocked that it was over. But just because I wanted to see more, it did feel really short. But
I guess it was a weird decision why they didn't just make it one full episode. They wanted to elongate Henry and Sam probably, but it could have easily been just 1 hour and a half episode.
I think it would have. Yeah, because then people probably would have complained like, "Oh, Henry and Sam got killed off the same episode that they were in."
Yeah,
it gave you a week to get a little more intrigue and build it up, I guess. But
wait, we haven't even talked about in episode 4 when they're driving and they see the guy who's pretending to be hurt.
That was exactly like the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great moment. I love that. And the whole Bill's magazine bit too. Cut scene. Yeah,
the driving to the city.
Yeah, I was nervous they were going to cut that little bit, and they didn't. But I think it's such a good bit. I don't know, it's just a really funny, good characterization bit for.
And it was also just shot for shot from the game. What the hell? Oh, what the hell was that noise? It was shot for shot from the game where they're the dialogue exchange and sort of their physicalities. It was exactly like the game, and we're continuing to see that pattern where they take the cinematic moments from the game, and that's what we're seeing be the shot for shot moments of the show.
Yeah,
which is so cool because that's what you remember from the game are those moments, and then it's what is in between that they're really working with.
Well, and the little changes too, because when he does see the guy who's pretending to be hurt, it's a different line that he says, I think. In the game he says,
"Oh, he ain't even hurt," and then this one is just like, "Buckle up," and then I don't know. I don't remember exactly what he said in the show.
Which I think the game does it more badass.
I do agree. I really
the game does do it more.
I was a little disappointed that he didn't say he ain't even hurt, and then slam on the gas, because I just like that. But I do enjoy that they kept the line of how do you know that guy?
Yeah.
And they
I've been on both sides of it.
Does the game reveal that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's a moment you're just walking.
Joel's he's not this perfect hero character, and it's cool that
he's
they
a bad guy.
That. Yeah. They acknowledge it both in the show and in the game that he did what it took to survive, and that involved not being the best person sometimes.
Even just going a step beyond that, he was parts of groups potentially, attacking innocent people that are in a car driving by potentially and robbing them for everything they have maybe and potentially having to kill them.
Well, and then the peak for next episode, we saw a bit of exchange about that with Tommy, where he was like, "We killed people.
Yeah,
we did not do great things."
Yeah,
and I think part of the reason that we're gonna see, it is like the game in terms of why Joel and Tommy split was just because they maybe were not agreeing about how to live in this world.
Yeah, and the Fireflies too.
And the Fireflies.
Just telling me was
on the Fireflies.
Yeah. Joel's never believed in the Fireflies, it seems.
Episodes 4 and 5, I guess, really do start to bring out the themes of, like, morality, because then Henry starts talking about why he killed Kathleen's brother, and he flat out says, so I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm the bad guy because I did the bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. To save his brother.
Yeah. Like, everyone is a part of being a bad guy now.
Yeah.
In this world.
I think every single thing... Well, yeah, it's all your perspective, too, like your point of view, which is cool, too.
Yeah.
And, like, I think everything that they did with Sam and Henry in the show was a little bit better than in the game, for sure. Like, making him deaf was a nice touch.
Making him deaf.
Making him deaf was an incredible touch. That I just think they were characterized a little bit better. Like, I loved the voice acting in the game, but I just really liked the acting of these two.
And the fact that Sam is so young, I think adds another layer, because he's kind of the same age as Ellie in the game, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in this one, we get to see, like, guardianship. We get to see the comparisons between Joel and Ellie and Henry and Sam, but then we also get to see Ellie and Sam.
Yeah.
And how Ellie can grow up to be that kind of person, too.
Yeah. But it's cool, and that Ellie, really tries to test the idea, or, like, I guess she's been told all this time that she's special, and that she has this potential cure for humanity, and then she really tries to use it to do some good.
I think she really thought that was going to work.
Yeah.
She thought the cure's in her blood.
Oh, yeah. And it makes sense because she's so young, but then it's not really going to work like that, honey. And then to have that, like, shattered for her is going to be huge for her character. Like,
well, and they don't, they don't know they don't know why she's immune, they don't know how she's immune, so to assume it's in her blood, I think, would be anyone's first thought.
Yeah.
Like, of course so for her to try that and think that it's going to work makes all the sense in the world.
A kid who has no knowledge of anything medical, because that stuff doesn't even exist in that world, like, of course it makes sense for her to think, oh, cure's in my blood, give you a little of my blood, you'll be fine.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Something else I can't take credit. I didn't catch this, but I saw a few different articles, or like heard other people talking about it, that they have that whole conversation before, which is also similar to the game, where Sam is saying, do you think the person's still trapped in there? Like, asking her if you think they're still trapped in there after they turn. And she's saying, no, not really, essentially. And basically, then the next morning, she wakes up, she's coming up to him, and she's saying, Sam, Sam, and he's not reacting. And then she touches him, and he reacts. Well, he's deaf, so he's not hearing her approach, I heard it in the podcast, actually. The HBO podcast that Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin do with Troy Baker. And they were saying that's kind of like a little touch, saying, well, at least at first, there is still kind of that person trapped in there, because it's not like it kills them and brings them back. It's still over them.
It just takes over.
It keeps them alive. So it's
their
like
abilities are the same.
Right. So that kind of shows, like, if he heard them in the other room, or she would come up to him and saying, he didn't react till he was physically touched. He's just sitting there. So I really like that's a subtle touch.
You also have to wonder, like, how far that goes, because when you think back to the very first episode, when Sarah finds the neighbors infected or struggling, then it's the Adlers. The person who changed was the old lady in the wheelchair.
Yeah, the old
right. But then she's crawling around and moving. And so you wonder, like, okay, well, did the infection give her legs back? How did that really work?
I know. I do wonder that.
So he's deaf, but then he stays deaf.
Right.
Like, you just have to wonder, like, is that a continuity error, or do we just suspend disbelief and say that we don't know how this infection works?
I think suspend disbelief to an extent. I think, like, just takes over her body, forces her to move around. That organism's in, like, every part of her, forcing the legs to move. I don't know, whatever. But I've thought about that with the old lady too. Like, I don't know, like, how she's able to, like, walk and jump and stuff if she was in a wheelchair. But, like, just suspend disbelief would be my answer.
Well, I'm gonna go with that.
I think that's good.
Takes sense to me.
I think that's good. Yeah.
I just and then I immediately after the show ended, I went onto YouTube and watched how the game did that Henry and Sam exit. And it's incredibly emotional in the game, too, but the show just ramped it up.
Yeah.
It was much more emotional in the show.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because, like, I think one of the major things that I noticed was, A, the dialogue was better, and B, the acting was better. Because when you're acting in a game, it can only be so good.
Yeah.
And I felt like Henry and Sam's characters in the game were just kind of like, eh. But in the show, they got really good people, and they wrote it really well, and that landing was just so much more impactful.
And I think just the simple thing of making Sam a little bit younger, I think you connect with him so much more, and you feel so much worse for him.
It draws more of a parallel between Joel and Ellie too, of like because they're brothers, but it's more of a father-son dynamic.
It is 100%.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that they were brothers from the game until they reveal it.
No, it's interesting. Hud, was what you were just saying about the characters, because I just had a switcheroo, because the other day I was thinking, like, it's a shame we don't get more Sam and Henry. I know we only have a limited amount of time. It's a shame they're tail end of the one episode, and then you just get one whole episode with them. Because I was like, I feel like you get him so much more in the game. And then I played through that part the other day, and I think I just have that mindset because of getting stuck on certain parts, so they're with you all the time. But I played through it, like, just cruise through that part. They might be in the show more. They might be in the show more, and they do have more depth to them for sure. And just that Henry actor just blows it out of the water.
And if you hadn't played the game, it's even more tragic too, because there's even conversations with Ellie and Joel where they're talking, or at least Ellie's saying, "We're going to Wyoming. There's enough room in Wyoming for the four of us." Like, it's implying that they are going to continue the journey with
Joel and Henry are like warming up to each other a lot.
Joel invites Henry.
Yeah.
He officially invites Henry, and then it only goes south because Sam got infected and died, and then Henry lost his shit.
Yeah.
Which, fair enough. If I were in Henry's shoes, I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah. It's so cool. It all seems so natural, because it's like, first he doesn't want Joel to shoot his brother.
Yeah, he shoots at Joel, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He shoots at his feet. It's just like, don't.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to process this yet.
But then he has that moment, like, just an instinctual moment of like, oh, like, Ellie's gonna die here if I don't do something, and then he does it, and then he like realizes that's his brother.
And then it just shows the pooling blood just pouring from Sam, which was...
I like the touch of him, like, questioning, like, the what did I do? Because that wasn't in the game. I really like the what did I do? What did I do?
Yeah.
That was cool. I mean, I like the way they handled it in both, but I really enjoyed the acting of these characters. It was incredible.
Let's go back, to the way bloater. That they did the bloater, the street scene, because in the game it's daytime.
Yeah.
You're shooting at some live people. Or no, you're shooting at some clickers and stuff in the street, in the house from Joel's perspective.
Not a horde.
And it's not a horde, it's just a few, and
it's
then they
go away. It's a good amount, but not a,
Yeah,
not
they sneak through a fence in the street, and then they end up coming around the house, and you're all in the house. In the show, obviously, it was so much different. It was so much more epic, this big confrontation between groups, and the way that they brought in this infected swarm was crazy.
Yeah, and you even get the foreshadowing in
God,
episode 4 when Kathleen's group is like looking at that
the bloater. Yeah, the ground is pulsing.
Yeah, it's pulsing and cracking.
It was smart
because they said too, all the infected are underground right now. So like, and then to figure out like that after the explosion. Okay, I'm just rambling right now, but the actual cinematography and the lighting, so the explosion and all the fires, what's lighting the scene, and it just looked so good.
It did.
Oh my god.
It was smart to do it this way and ramp up. I see why they did it, because up to this point, like, especially if you're a show-only watcher and haven't played the game, you haven't seen the infected really much, especially like full force, like in a group. Like, at that point in the game, you've come across so many of them. You fought them. You kind of know what they're like to an extent, and you have a few hordes that show up and kind of run around and chase you a little bit. But like in the show, it's like we've had a couple here and there. We had the 2 clickers.
We had the bunch with what's her name?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but even then, that was just Tess, and that was a horde, but it was still like not necessarily in action, like attacking people or people trying to fight back. But it's like there's no tact with how they can fight. Like, it's like if you're fighting a horde of zombies in The Walking Dead, you can take them out pretty good. But like this is just you're just
coming at you.
It's spray and pray. You're just hoping you hit them.
And they were, it was a really cool battle between. It was a cool battle between people and infected, because we really saw both groups just absolutely doing the best they could. The people had great weapons. They were all shooting, and it was going through. And then all of a sudden, this bloater comes out and just starts wrecking people.
That was an amazing
and I think
shot.
that's when they all knew it was over.
Yeah. I kind of wish that shot wasn't in any of the trailers or anything at all of that bloater coming up, which I get for marketing.
That shot was epic.
I mean, I feel like I still would have figured, bloater's coming, but it's just like I knew going into that episode, like, we're gonna get the bloater in this episode, and then when it like shows that shot, I'm like, okay, the bloater's gonna pop up. But I can imagine, and it was still amazing, but just like if I didn't even know that a bloater was gonna be in that scene, and then seeing that, oh my gosh. Yeah. But just incredible.
Well, and then the voice actor for Tommy in the game is the lead, the head militia guy, who is her right hand man. Yeah, and he was a cool character the whole way through.
Did you
really
see
appreciate his character? Yeah, his death. He goes to like sort of sacrifice himself and then just gets immediately. All he did was buy her time.
It's
just decapitated.
That's a kill.
Decapitated.
If the bloater gets a hold of you in the game, that's a kill he'll do on you too. Just rip your head from your jaw. And I like how it's in the background. They don't even focus on it. It's almost kind of a head nod to the game, or a little bit of like people are just running. You just see him in the background. You just know what he's doing.
Yeah. God. And the little clicker girl, she was scary.
Yeah.
God, yeah, that's the one that kills Kathleen.
Yeah.
Pretty epic. Pretty epic. I like that stuff.
Interesting change too of the sniper being an old guy who's a terrible shot, but but I like it for the show because it does create this idea that you're not just fighting a group of asshole people that are all tough militia guys. Like, there are going to be some innocents here, some guy that got stationed there to guard the road.
In the game, what's the context of what's happening?
He's an incredibly good sniper that doesn't miss, and he taunts you. And it's a bitch.
It's a hard, difficult point to get past.
And then you get to the room, and you go in there to kill him, and he's nowhere to be found, and he's hiding in the corner, and he comes and you have this whole fight with him, and then Joel has to stab him in the throat. It's a whole thing. So I was like very surprised in this one.
What team is the sniper on? Like what?
Same, the hunters. This group of people, the same people. But it's just, I do think it kind of, I guess, human. Obviously, that makes sense too for a game. You want the sniper to be better because it's like you have the gameplay mechanic of having to work your way around. But I did kind of like the idea that they changed that up in a cool way.
Joel tried to give him a chance to escape. He's like, please, man, I really don't want to do this.
Yeah, he's literally begging him, don't do it.
Don't do it. And then all of a sudden you hear the gunshot and you're like, oh, God, we knew it was going to go that way.
That guy deserved it, so.
I would have put my gun down.
Could have gone away. Everyone's just doing what they got to do to survive, and Joel knows that. I think that's a cool thing is that because we've seen all this back, like in the game, Joel has a very similar backstory in terms of we know he's done a lot to survive, but he's a cold-blooded, do anything it takes. But in this one, we're seeing a more sympathetic Joel where he's like, I know what it takes to survive in this world. Yeah. We don't have to do it when we don't have to do it. Right? Yeah. Like, you can make other choices sometimes. Sometimes you can't, but now I'm giving you a choice.
Yeah.
Don't make me do this. Just go.
He's a much sadder character.
He is a much sadder character. Yeah. And there's a lot more depth to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I love it. I love the way Pedro Pascal is playing it.
But we get a new episode tomorrow, and I'm really excited about that. Yeah. I don't remember. Oh, I do now remember the look ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what are we expecting from this episode?
Tommy, you slap a mustache on that actor, and he looks like a completely different actor. Like, he looks so different in the look ahead. He's just got a mustache now, but it's like that doesn't look like the same guy.
It does look like a different guy.
But
now we're in winter. Now we're in winter, actually.
Well, now it's just gonna. Oh my god! So we got 4 more. Is that right?
I think there's actually only 9.
I know. I just discovered that the other day. And it makes me sad. 4 more. And 8 is at least like probably half of that's going to be a bit of a flashback episode. Yeah. I know.
And I feel like we were for the last few episodes. It was clearly kind of like end of summer, fall-ish, but we were also a little bit farther east. Now we're moving west, and so I don't know if this episode's going to start directly in winter. It looked like there was going to be just a big time.
Because that part in the game is technically
fall. We're going to see some more traveling.
I feel like they're just going to kind of blend it all together, fall.
Yeah, winter. I don't know if we're going to get any more traveling from this point. If it's just,
I'd be fine if not, because there's a lot to do. Still, which I do because they've already gained my trust so much the whole time. I know that they're going to do it well, but 4 episodes to include half of the game, like literally, there's half of the game left to include in 4 episodes, and knowing that one of those episodes, at least half of them, is going to be the DLC flashback stuff. It's a lot, but I think they're going to do it well. I just think that means every second is just going to be pretty crazy. I hope the episodes are fairly long too.
I'm betting the end of next episode we're leaving Tommy to go off on the next bit, and then it is going to move very.
You really have to get to
so fast. I have no idea what to expect.
You have to get to the winter stuff.
Yeah.
You have to get to the winter stuff by like episode 7 7.
This is episode 6.
Yeah.
And
so
it looks like we're already going to be in the winter stuff. And I'm betting.
I think you're right.
I'm betting anything at the end of this episode, if not before the end of the episode, they are leaving Tommy to go to the next.
Which I'm excited for this episode in that case because it's gonna have my favorite cutscene in the game. Well, one of my favorite cutscenes. I don't know. Just the one.
Do you want to share?
I don't want to be a spoiler guy. Just the one where Joel and Ellie are talking and she like kind of calls him out on some shit. I don't want to be a spoiler guy. It's a phenomenal scene. Phenomenal scene. We'll see it soon enough, but that's gonna happen. I love that cutscene because these actors are gonna. That's what might make me cry.
This is where we're starting to get way more into the depth of the characters too. Each episode is just deeper and deeper.
That's why I'm excited now because it's just now you get all the crazy stuff.
The only plot point I remember from this point on is David.
What do you remember about that?
I remember you were walking around like this really big table and you're like ducking and hiding from him.
That part.
And I remember hunting a deer.
Yeah.
And obviously the end cutscene. That's all I remember.
Wow, good of you.
That is literally all I remember.
Wow, very good of you. Cool.
This is gonna be kill.
Well, I am excited. Love the show.
Do you think it's gonna be kill?
Oh, it's gonna be kill.
I agree about that.
Well, we will catch you later.
On the flippity flop.
Later.
Later.